In a world with only hot takes,
Two college friends try to cool down sports media.
join Jack and Jared every week as they tackle the biggest stories in the NFL.
And give the reasonable football analysis you won't hear anywhere else.
Welcome to
710
710 Sports.
Welcome back to 710 Sports with
Jack
and Jared. Thanks for joining us. Episode 27. After the incredible and super wildcard weekend, talk about some great games. Jack currently Monday is right now 5-0 in his picks for the wildcard weekend. We won't talk about my 3-2 record. Well, we will. We'll get there. But an awesome slate of games. We're going to hit all of them. What happened in this episode? We'll release an episode later in the week for predictions for the divisional round. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. One caveat, I just got to correct you right now because I'm just so good at that. Or not maybe correct, strong word, but addendum. Next episode will also be our analysis for the Cowboys-Bucks game because that is not happening. Not happening this episode. We're recording well before that game starts. But the other games, as you can tell from the 5-0-3-2 rather than having 6 games there.
This is true. This is true, and we have an opportunity. Like basically, either I'm going to be 4-2, and Jack's going to be 5-1, or Jack's going to get the full sweep because we have opposite teams in that game. If you watched last week, So
the predictions,
So basically, we're just going to get right into it because we have so much to cover.
Wild games this wild card weekend.
Wild, and it's crazy because last season, it felt like almost every single playoff game was incredible. Like it was just, it was like the best playoffs I've ever seen. And this season, it started off, I think, even better. Besides 49ers Seahawks.
Which was even close at half.
It was close at half, right?
The Seahawks were up at half.
It was better in comparison to last year's Buffalo blowout of the Patriots, right? So it's like, it's a better weekend to start.
They're 2 seed, 7 seed.
Right. So, but we're going to start right there with the 49ers. All right. We're going to have to address it. I know everybody's thinking it. We had a video do better than usual. With my, I don't want to call it a hot take because I've had it all season. I've been hot on the Seattle Seahawks, but it was probably a bad take. Many would say. Basically,
many did say, I believe.
Right. 49ers end up steamrolling Seattle 41-23. And it's worse when you consider Seattle was actually up at halftime 17-16. And it looked like some of my predictions were coming true. In fact, they did not. And so, do you want me to start with this, Jack, just to sort of clear the air a bit?
I think you got to just roll on this. I mean, given the fact that this team was your pick to go to the Super Bowl, for those who don't know, those who aren't aware, just got to call that out, right? Given that, I think you got to just. I mean, I have thoughts on it, but I think your thoughts are going to be more interesting here.
Yeah, so I'd like the first thing I want to say is my analysis was that this was going to have to be a shootout for Seattle to win. And I thought that Geno, with those offensive weapons, was going to be able to do that. I kind of, plenty of people pointed out to me in the comments that, there was a forecast for a monsoon to come through during the game. And, listen, guys, I'm not looking at the 5-day forecast. We're recording on Monday here. I'm not looking to see what's going to happen on Saturday in San Fran, but maybe I should be, right? Maybe, that's on me. But honestly, as I was telling Jack, Seattle was born in the rain, all right? Raised by it, molded by it. Okay. And oftentimes with these bad weather games, the offense actually does better because they know where they're going to be running and making cuts, and the defense doesn't, right? So the rain kind of held off, but it did rain for part of the game and absolutely no issue scoring. My whole point about the shootout was that San Fran was going to score a ton of points. They've been one of the best offenses in the league since acquiring Christian McCaffrey, which I didn't think that would be the case either. Okay. So my takes are rolling into bad and worse and bad and worse. But at this point, we're 10 weeks into this. We've seen them just not basically score on everybody except the Saints for some reason, right? So I said, if you're going to take Seattle, they're going to have to score a ton. and they were scoring with them in the first half. But the 49ers just never stopped. They came out at the first half. They scored a TD to go up 7. Seattle drove down the field. Geno strip sack fumble. And at that point, it was over because, I don't know, I just didn't see Seattle being able to get enough stops. And it ended up breaking completely open in the other way, where San Fran never stopped scoring. They got all the way to 41, and Seattle didn't score again. Or they scored a TD, I think, and then that was it.
Yeah, but not much, yeah.
Right. So, you know what? I actually think it was right there in the first half. I mean, it was if they both scored 14 in the second half, I would have had my exact score perfect, 31-30, and then it just completely fell apart for Seattle. So yeah, no, it really blows up my bracket. But honestly, I think we all saw that coming. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I was expecting to see your bracket blown up. No, but I mean, yeah, what I think is interesting about this is the end score looks a lot, not exactly, but looks a lot like what I predicted this game at what, 14-24. But both of these teams scored more points than I thought, right? Seattle scored a bit more of the touchdowns. San Fran scored like 2 more touchdowns compared to what I thought. But the sort of, if you look at it like that, the sort of end game differential looks like what I thought it was, right? San Fran's going to win by more than 1 score, and Seattle's not going to put up nearly as many points as them. I mean, that's all, obviously they're not going to win this. Going to win by more than 1 score, so of course. But like, this game did not turn out how I thought it was. I did not think Seattle would score this many points. I did not think they would be leading at half. Once they were leading by a point, but leading at half, I was thinking, wait, this game might go how you were predicting it. That idea of a shootout, like it was starting to look like, okay, like wait a second, Seahawks, like whoa, you just scored, so you're up at half, you scored more points. If you keep this trajectory, right? If you guys score the same amount of points, if you guys keep this up, then you're going to win. And Pete Carroll's a good coach, right? Right. It's not going to be like a Brandon Staley situation. Spoilers to the next game. Like that was kind of my, at that point I was kind of thinking, wait a second, Jared might be onto something. And I think in some ways you were, but I mean, obviously, yep, the San Fran continued their offensive dominance throughout the game, and like Seattle defense is not nearly as good as the San Fran defense, just generally. I mean, I looked at it. I don't have it pulled up now, but looking at it, it's like, okay, they have all-pro first team all-pro defensive end, first team all-pro middle linebacker Fred Warner. I think their safety might be a first team all-pro as well. Either way, he's Pro Bowl at least. But either way, I mean, their defense has so many amazing players on it. And they're off, like all that sort of stuff. I mean, I think,
and their offense. I mean, look at their offense.
And their offense.
Look at the playmakers. They got Brock Purdy's third string rookie QB, and his numbers look ridiculous. They look absolutely ridiculous.
Because look at the offense, and you got what, top left tackle in the league. You have Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk's a pretty amazing wide receiver too.
Yeah,
like other side, pretty amazing for for the position, like for where he is on the team. That's your offensive. Those are your offensive, the most important positions on offense other than quarterback. And Brock Purdy he's not Zach Wilsoning this, right? There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league. There are a lot of starters on a lot of teams who I don't think would be performing as well as Brock Purdy. Not to say that he's going to be not to say that he's getting a lot of help from being on like a team with maybe the best overall team in the league in terms of not quarterback. Like, he's obviously getting a ton of help, but I also think there are a lot of dudes you could put in here who would be messing this up, who'd be throwing picks. Like Jimmy G being one of them, frankly. Not that no slander towards Jimmy G, but still, Brock Purdy's in the past 6 games is what, like 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions or something is his ratio in the games.
It's crazy.
It's something like that. It's 15-2, whatever it is. Like, he's like, yes, he's in this extremely, like, he's in an extremely beneficial scenario to himself, 100%, but he's not messing it up. And there are a lot of dudes out there who you could put in a situation like this who I think would mess it up.
Yeah, definitely tune in the next episode, because we're going to talk about, San Francisco and who they're going to play and stuff like that. But man, they're the only convincing win of the weekend. I mean, if they're not favorites in the NFC, maybe favorites to win the whole thing. I mean, and I don't know, but so
Yeah,
do you want to go ahead?
No, I just fact checked myself. Yeah, they have a first team All Pro player at each level of the defense, defensive line, linebacker, and their safety, Talanoa Hufanga.
Oh, Hufanga, yeah,
is a first team All Pro safety as well. They have each level of the defense. They have one of a top 2 player at the position there, which is just of the defense. I mean,
crazy.
Also offense is great, but it's
crazy.
Anyway.
Let me play QB, like we've said. Just let me play QB on that team. All right, now we're gonna go to. We have to talk about the big collapse, the massive comeback, depending on how you want to phrase it. Jacksonville Jaguars down 27-7 at half. At one point, down 27-0 with only minutes left in the second quarter. To the Chargers. Chargers proceed to score 3 points in the second half, looking like the Indianapolis Colts out there, and they allow Jacksonville to score basically almost 30. Let's see here, 31 unanswered. Essentially 31-3 run.
31-3 run, yeah.
And they end up winning on a last second field goal. Jack, do you want to open this one up? General thoughts? Or?
I'll open this one up. I mean, I don't know. Right? It's hard to open this one up, and it's hard because this is the third largest playoff comeback ever. There's one that was 28 point. No, this one was 28. There's one that was 28 point. One that was like 32. And yeah, I mean, when you give up this many points, and especially when it's this much a tale of two halves. When it's at the half, it was 27-7, and yeah, like you said, that last 7 was at the very end of the quarter. But still, in the second half, that was a 24. I'm looking, that's right, 24-3 difference in the second half. That is bad. And it's, I mean, clearly. But it's also, I think, reflects a lot on the coaching. I think it reflects a lot on coaching. I mean, and I think that, and everyone's saying that, I think. I think anyway. Everyone's right. Definitely fingers are being pointed at Brandon Staley, and they 110% should be. And I think it's the only really thing you should point your finger at. But I'm still sort of like this. I feel like a collapse of this scale, I can't just blame Brandon Staley. I don't know what it is. I don't know who else to blame. Right? But like both running backs averaged under 3 yards a carry. Justin Herbert only had 1 touchdown pass. He had, obviously, I know their running back ran for 2. Austin Eckler ran for 2. The completion rate's good, but it's not like some stellar complete. Like there's second half offense. I would have hoped they would have lucked their way into some points. It's not like they have their defense is not good, but it's not like they've got terrible players. They have some playmakers on it. Of course, one of those playmakers, Joey Bosa, was catching a couple penalties, which is certainly not helping them. But I mean, I'm going to pass to you because I don't know what to say because this is such a massive collapse. Trevor Lawrence ended this game 4 he threw those 4 picks. Then he got 4 touchdown passes in a row without a pick. I don't know. Pretty good for him, but
yeah, my thoughts on this was pretty similar to what I had last week about this game. These teams suck. I'm sorry, but against any team who could run the ball effectively, the Jags would have been blown out in this game because they were blown out. They literally got blown out in the first half. And if the Chargers could just have a drive, their drives were, in the second half, basically it was a punt, 2 minutes, 2-minute drive punt, Jags score a touchdown. And then 2-minute drive field goal for the Chargers. 2-minute drive, right?
2 minutes.
Jags touchdown in 2 minutes. Chargers actually have a 6-minute drive. Missed field goal. That was really, I mean, that could have, won them the game, right?
Blame the kicker. And that's what I'm saying. It's every level. At that point, yeah, blame the kicker too for that. Right. Blame everyone.
Jags touchdown. Then once again, Chargers get the ball. They got to run this out. They're still up. They're still up by 2. 2-minute drive, 5 plays, punt the ball back to the Jags so that they have a chance to win it all. with a few minutes left in the game, and that's exactly what they do. It's just the play calling, not being able to have an effective run game. It's just shocking. But to be fair, I mean, like I said, I kind of felt like the Chargers had a little bit of too much eggs in one basket. But when you get spotted that lead, and look at Jacksonville. Jacksonville, they're starting
gave
QB,
up a lead that big.
They had 4 ints in the first half, 5 turnovers.
Now, Jared, I'm about to spew unsupported claims, so okay. you're gonna have to vouch for this, right? I'm putting the ball in your court. Because I thought you had texted something, but then I also seen some buzz about it. But some of Asante Samuel's 3 interceptions were at least some of those like was there some questionable PI, like no calls on PI? I felt like I know you said something and I saw some buzz that they really weren't calling certain things, because yeah. I heard a lot of people saying the first 2 picks were not his fault.
No.
And were more whatever it was like that.
Good defensive plays. Again, tip ball to start. That's the first pick to start the game. Tip ball goes for an interception. Then the next one was basically the defender was like locking up, I think, Zay Jones down the field. And I actually did. This is a great transition, Jack, because I have this written down to talk about sort of the flow from this game into just general playoff stuff.
Yeah,
the refs tend to swallow the whistle in the playoffs. In these big games, they tend to go a little bit more hands off. They say, we're going to let them play. We're going to have, a little bit more smash mouth football. They're going to let the wide receivers and the cornerbacks hand check further down the field, and stuff like that. Right. So like in general, I would say this weekend, but specifically in this game, especially in the first half, you could tell the Jacksonville wide receivers were looking soft just because they weren't used to having that much contact downfield, and the refs were letting them play. I'm all for it. I would prefer that, because I think playing defense has gotten harder and harder and harder with, as in the last 10, 15 years, as we've tried to make the game a lot safer. But this, holding on pass interferences and stuff down the field and stuff, sometimes I wish that they would rather let them, just kind of fight it out. Like let the receiver, make a play. Right. But they don't do that. Right. They spend the entire regular season calling it really tight and being like, oh, well, yeah, you gave them a little tug at the top of the route.
Yeah.
And you had illegal contact and all this stuff. There's holding before the pass is even thrown and all this ticky-tacky stuff. And then all of a sudden, we get into the playoffs, and the Chargers cornerbacks are, playing seriously physical, which good on them because it was working. And I would say that there was definitely that interception, for example, the second one that Lawrence threw, and plenty other times there was a pass deep left into the end zone that I thought that the Chargers guy was definitely holding, pass interfering. Not called, right? They're just letting them play, and they must have made some adjustments to Jacksonville. They played a little bit tougher in the second half. I think that the Chargers kind of backed off a bit off the press because you're up 27, right? So like,
But you don't want to. There's no point in trying to give up like pass interference calls, or play quite as hard. Yeah,
but 1,000%, I think it's an issue because, like we said this mid-season when we talked about pet peeves about the league. I just want consistency. Like, I just want consistency. Like, that's the problem with some of these penalties. It's so hard to be consistent to call holding on offensive linemen. You could call holding on almost every play, right? Or this like, if you're going to call it tight, then we need to call it tight in the biggest games. And we're going to continue to see this problem through the rest of the playoffs. No doubt. People are going to be saying that should be a DPI at any other regular season game, but the refs don't want to insert themselves in a playoff game when they will do it all regular season, right? That's the way I see it. I don't know what you think, Jack.
Yeah, I think that's definitely good analysis. And I also definitely think, consistency is the biggest thing, because even if if there's something that's happening and they're consistently making bad calls, at least now as a coach, as a player, as a coordinator, like so on, like you can plan for it, right? You can say, okay, like the pass interference rule says this, but they consistently call it in this scenario. Well, now you can just like now you know what to do and not to. Like you can make sure, like you don't try to look at the rule book and get confused when it's different in real life. You can just look at real life. Same thing always happens, roughly. Right. If the same thing is always happening, if it's consistent, then you can just play along with that. Even though it's not written down, there's no written thing documenting the real life thing. You can watch it. You get that real world experience, and you can have reliable outcomes. It feels fair, even if it's not to the book. Even if they're letting them play, which like you said, I think generally, generally I agree with that stuff you said. But like good to let them play. But yeah, it's tough when the Jaguars receivers, tight end may not have been ready for the sort of physicalness that they were going to get in that first half, because it would have been called otherwise. But then that being the thing, second half, they probably, were probably much more ready for it. And that's, or something. It could have been, again, with a collapse this massive, it could be any number of things.
We're out here around 2:00 in the afternoon on the Monday after the game. I mean, Staley, we have not got word that Staley has not been fired yet.
I was thinking the same thing,
but I would have fired this guy yesterday. I was saying that this guy should have been fired mid-season.
Lovie Smith overnight, sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. I just don't. I mean, yeah. But I'm not. I haven't liked Brandon Staley the entire time, so yeah, that's just true, me. Yeah. But
here's one last big takeaway for me from this game, and I'm glad I just remembered. I didn't write this down. I think this game, more than anything else, tells you, if you're the owner of the Chargers, if you're the GM of the Chargers, Sean Payton might be worth a first-round pick. It might be worth trying to entice him, try to say, hey, Sean, look, we got this great quarterback, try to blah, 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 blah. Say to the Saints, hey, Saints, we're not in the same conference as you, and we're giving you this first-round pick. You're like, or because otherwise I think, first-round pick for a head coach, I don't know. But like, the Chargers need a coach. And they need, because this, even though I was saying, you can blame a lot of people for this, and you can, for this sort of collapse, I think the buck stops somewhere, and it stops at the head coach, right? At some point, if you're going to have a total collapse like this, for one thing, even the collapse of your players, even individual mistakes, still fall on you as the coach, I think, when it's this drastic, when it's this massive. And I think that, I think if you're Chargers ownership and everything, you have to do something. You don't run it back with Brandon Staley. Yes, he made the playoffs, but with the level of talent on this team before the season, we would have thought they would have done so much more. I don't know. You would have thought they beat the Chargers. The Jags, the team who was the number one pick last year. You would have thought that you could beat them.
Put the tape
and not lose them twice.
Put the tape on replay. You'd think with all this, you'd think with Justin Herbert that he could, with all these weapons, with this great defense, that he could win some games. You think that they're a cursed franchise.
Hey, their starting tackles hurt, and that's why they gave up a 27 point comeback to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right, left tackle. That's why. That's why. Just say Chargers ownership, please. As an AFC East, residents here, Patriots fan, please keep Brandon Staley and just say, left tackle was hurt. Run it back next year. Run it back next year. Same thing.
Here's the thing, too. We didn't even touch really the Justin Herbert side of this, but can we? At least he got to the playoffs, I guess. I guess for a lot of quarterbacks, it's like a progression to not being able to get to the playoffs, then getting to the playoffs, and then winning a playoff game. But come on. You're up 27-0. Some of the blame's got to go on him too. 100%.
I agree.
So come on. We got to remember this when we're doing QB rankings, off season. It's but Justin Herbert. Well, Justin Herbert. Look, Trevor Lawrence is throwing four picks in the first half, and he's getting it done.
Everyone talks about Matt Ryan blowing a 25-point lead in the Super. And yes, this wasn't the Super Bowl, but still, people don't say as much. Who was it? Was it Kyle Shanahan? Was he the coach?
Yeah.
I think of the Falcons that time. People.
Well, he was the
people say it about
offensive coordinator. He was
the offensive coordinator. People say it about someone like Shanahan for that, but so much of that goes on Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's the dude who blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. And they should say that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to say that, you should also say it about Herbert just throwing a 27-point lead on a playoff game. And yes, coaching, but so much of the talk in that game wasn't about the Falcons' defense or the Falcons' coaching. There was. I mean, there is talk about that. But it wasn't just that. There's so much of the public discourse about Matt Ryan.
Yeah, he had
especially after the Colts
point.
game this season. And I don't know.
100%. Bills versus Dolphins. This game was wackier than I think anybody expected.
We got it right, though, Jared. We got it, Got the prediction right. It means it went exactly as expected. That's what that means.
Well, see, it's starting to
34. I knew it.
It's starting to feel like maybe you should just bet money lines, and I shouldn't bet ever. That's really what it's because even when I picked this game, but I said that the Bills were going to win by 29, and it was looking like that. 17-0 to start this game, and then. Basically,
wait. I got the Bills. Wait, I guess the Bills points right. I guess the Bills would be 34-6. That's what I guessed it would be. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, you missed Miami scoring 31.
Nostradamus. Okay, sorry, kids. Sorry, I interrupted you. I just got logged out of my Google account, so I didn't see my document. I had to log back in, and I just saw it while you were mid-sentence.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, basically, Bills are up 17-0. Starting to look like this is going to be the routing that everyone expected. It was a 14-point spread going into this game. It got bet like 2-14. I think it was at 12 when we did the podcast, 12.5 or something when we did the podcast previously. So, they were up big, and then next thing you know, Miami makes some good plays. Buffalo starts dropping passes. People are not on the same page. They had a backup wide receiver in. Josh Allen continues to have
a couple freebies.
The turnover
a couple freebies.
He had 2 picks. You could argue that they weren't his fault. One of them went through Beasley's hands. Definitely not his fault. The other one wasn't on the same page as the receiver as a deep ball. Had a strip.
Did he also fumble?
Sack fumble that went to a TD for Miami, and somehow right before half, Miami ends up cleaning up and getting this thing close. And then they basically score a TD after a wacky they punt, and then Buffalo punts back. There's a big return. It's weird 2 minutes where there was a couple of field goals scored and then a touchdown scored. And then with 30 seconds left, the Bills drive 60 yards and get a field goal themselves at the end of half. Stuff that makes you feel like Buffalo was.
Wait a second. This looks like a joke. I just looked at the drive history, and it's 43-second drive, 17, 22, 20, 29, 4. The 4 was just to end the game, but. Yeah.
It was a
wacky.
Wild end of half, but then Bills moved the ball to get a chip shot field goal. They could have almost got a touchdown with 30 seconds, and you start to wonder: are they just playing with their food a little bit, right? Are they just having a good time, right? Letting the bets kind of come in, right? But no, basically Miami sticks with them for most of the game. The Bills continue to make mistakes, And Scott, I mean, Miami didn't play the cleanest of games either. Thompson had a couple of bad picks.
Thompson's stat line looks bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just based on the completion rate, 40% or something completion rate is suboptimal. Anything else aside, but yeah.
But this one really comes down to, I think, bad coaching on Miami's part. Miami had the ball with an opportunity to tie or win late in the game. They're around 2 minutes. And basically they had been using their timeouts all through the second half for delay of game penalties because they could not get the play. They could not get the play in with a reasonable amount of time. And so basically they were either calling penalties because they didn't want to back themselves up on key downs, like third down, but it happened over and over and over again. And I just don't understand it. Same thing with, it came down to 4th and 1. It was 2 minutes and 10 seconds left or whatever. They're down 3. They've already used their timeouts. They've already used all their timeouts for these delay a game things. And they get to 4th and 1 and they can't get the play in. They cannot get the play in on 4th and 1. What? But it's 4th and 1. There's 3 plays you can pick.
How big's your playbook?
Yeah, And it's not like it's like, oh, you can say like, yeah, I was a backup quarterback. Okay, this guy, like, he's been playing this season. We already know that you've had a hard time getting the plays in. So if he's slower in the huddle, you have to get him the plays faster, and you have to say to him, "We need to go." You can't just be sitting in the huddle reading off your thing. We need to. I mean, how hard is it on 4th and 1 to tell the guy to sneak the ball? It's 4th and 1. Don't call XY double Z banana. You know what I mean? Don't just say, "Hey, run the sneak." Right?
I hate to see shotgun on 4th and 1. I'm not gonna say run pass, whatever. That's its own conversation. I dislike seeing shotgun on 4th and 1. I feel like
it just
unless you're gonna go balls to the wall 5 wide, and you're gonna have like I get that too. I don't like shotgun either way. I mean, I think you raise an amazing point of Skylar Thompson been playing a couple games here. Skylar Thompson played against the Patriots, and that was week 17. So we had all that game, right? Which we can write off. I think maybe Teddy Bridgewater got hurt that game. I forget which game Teddy Bridgewater got hurt. But, like, he was out that game. Tua has not been practicing, I don't think. I'd be shocked. Like, he's been either the 1 or 2 quarterback since earlier, because he played, I think he played the week 18 game against the Jets. Yeah, against the Jets. He played that game. Like, there were multiple full games before this that he played, and he would have been 1 or 2 in practice. Either the 1 or 2 quarterback in practice. And you would not say, like you would not blame a backup. You would not try to say, oh, well, the backup isn't going to, like, you wouldn't blame a delay of game on that. A backup still gets practice snaps, I think. I think anyway. I think this guy's getting plenty of snaps. I think he has a rough idea of the playbook. He's had more than his fair share of opportunities to play this season, given the Tua injury and stuff earlier in the season, and the fact that Teddy Bridgewater's their backup, and like we say, he gets hurt. Even early, like, he's played this team had to know this team more than any other team, save the 49ers, should have been ready to play their 3rd string quarterback.
Yeah.
And should have been ready for him to know the playbook.
Right.
Literally any other team except the 49ers, who are starting their 3rd string quarterback the past 6 games, should have their 3rd string ready. And I think,
well, but even, and that's, but in this, it's like, have your 3rd string ready. How about you just
have your starter?
How about you just have, how about you just have someone, like, can you get the plays in, right? We're talking about 2 minutes left to play. You could win a playoff game, like, and you can't, like, for the 4th or 5th time in the game, you cannot get the play in. You got guys subbing in with like 10 seconds. Guys are running on the field with 10 seconds in this play. You watch it back. It's unbelievable. And then it backs them up 5 yards, and they have to go for it on 4th and 6 instead of 4th and 1. It's just, and listen, McDaniels, he makes terrible decisions every game. And because they're flashy, and because he's kind of weird and goofy,
he's kind of goofy. Yeah, he's kind of funny,
and they've been winning. Right?
Has that stoner vibe.
Yeah. And they've been winning, so it's like, oh yeah, Mike McDaniels is just doing his own thing. He's his own person. That's fine. I'm just saying, like, I don't care about all that. I think that's he's got a cool vibe. That's fine with me. My problem is, he'll
the plays.
Third quarter for no reason will just go for it on his own 20, 4th and 1, like shit like that. Like, we've seen it the entire season. I go, this guy's a worse Staley. I mean, this guy's a worse Staley, and he's and people are like, I mean, at least I guess he got to the playoffs in his first season, and almost beat the Bills. So I guess
hater.
It's close.
You're just a hater.
Maybe I just don't understand him, but still, that's
now one last thing that is, like, kind of, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, when I was saying the thing about got to get your 3rd string ready, like, I guess what I meant was, I think he probably would. Like, I don't think that was it. Like I don't think they would have messed that up.
Right.
Like I'm saying, that can't be the excuse. It has to be get the plays in. Like, that, I think, is the problem. I think 3rd string is more like surely they would have had this. Like, how could they not have
the bare minimum?
Yeah, that is
one. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do we want to go to this game? We split.
My favorite.
Yeah, we split on this one. I thought I took the Vikings last week, but somehow, crazily, the New York Giants win in a shootout, really, in an offensive battle. It was close until the end. Basically, they took a late 7-point lead, and they were able to get a stop late from the Vikings. But the story of this game really was Daniel Jones, in my opinion. Daniel Jones, I think you had said something last week that was basically like, you're going to take the Giants, but what you're afraid of was the skill players like Justin Jefferson taking this game over, right? You were like, if somebody's going to have if somebody's going to be the X factor, it's going to be someone on the Vikings, right? Funny thing was, it was Daniel Jones. He was legitimately the X factor. You look at the stat line, 301 passing yards, 2 TDs, no ints, 78 rushing yards, 24 for 35. I mean, rushing for first downs, passing for first downs.
Yes, I mean, 17 carries too. Like it's not like he got 1 or 2 fluke runs off. He was routinely picking up first downs off the run.
Right. And to think about, we've said it before, look who he's throwing to. Number 1 receiver is a guy named Hodgins that was like on a practice squad 2 months ago. I mean, they're subbing in Galladay because these practice squad guys are getting hurt. And they can't even get him to have stats. Slayton is wide open late in the game on a 5-yard drag, and he drops the ball. I mean,
they got Wegmans cashiers out here catching passes. This Giants
Daniel Jones is throwing to these guys, right? And he still puts up these crazy numbers. I think it speaks a lot to coaching because we have not seen Daniel Jones play this good, protect the ball this well, and be as efficient.
Because right, this guy. I don't think I'm gonna fact check myself here. Yeah, no fumble. There are actually no turnovers at all this game.
Nope.
But yeah, I mean, that's again a big thing that even when he'd show, years ago when he'd show some dimes, when he was out here throwing dimes, throwing dollars, even when he was doing that, he was also fumbling at a crazy rate and throwing wacky picks. But yeah, this game, it's the fact that he's doing so much, and that he's not giving those kind of head scratching ints. He's not just playing free and loose with the ball, not holding on to it too tight. I mean, I think this game, this game especially, the fact that they made the playoffs, but this game especially, I mean, I think it shows. I gotta think he's getting a contract. I don't know what it's going to be because this is last year. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option, I think, or whatever it was. I have to think. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know. Right? It's going to be interesting to see because I don't know what it's going to be. But even if they go out and lose next week, unless Daniel Jones just absolutely just like crazy things, he plays so poorly. I mean, that's what I mean. Like unless he just completely poops the bed here, I have to think he's going to get an interesting prove it deal sort of thing. And I think he deserves it. I think like based off this season, yes, it's the new coaching and everything, but I mean, that's the thing. He had what, Joe Judge and stuff as his head coach, the guy running the famed Patriots offense this season, or co-running it. I mean, I think it's very interesting. I'd be shocked if it gets too long of a deal, because I think there is still like a prove it aspect, but I mean, I don't know. I think this was an amazing game for him, for winning a playoff game. I mean, right now, plenty of quarterbacks go their career without winning a playoff game.
Yeah, so. And this is his first playoff game. I mean, and I do want to point out the Vikings defense is awful, right? We should have maybe seen this coming a little bit. They give up a ton of yards, and they've just made plays when they've had to late in games all season. Unfortunately, the luck ran out. I wanted to switch to more of the Vikings side. I think this is as much a Dayball coaching victory as it is what's his name? McConnell?
McConnell, something like that.
Yeah, basically the Vikings.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, Vikings head coach. I mean, he's just that generic young offensive head coach that everyone's been hiring. He's like one of many clones after the McVay 2017 Super Bowl. So they're all the same to me. But we're early in the game, and the Vikings are on 3rd and 1, and they run some sort of weird, reverse to Justin Jefferson, and then he throws it back to Kirk Cousins across the field. We're 3rd and 1, guys. I don't understand how hard it is. Like if on 3rd and 1 you run whatever it is, HB draw or the QB sneak, and you can't get a yard. You can't get if you can't get the 1 yard, okay, whatever. I think you just say, okay, fine. And I know there's plenty of examples of when everybody thinks you're going to run up the middle, you should do a jet or something. But to me, I'm not sure what the percentage of
fundamentals.
Success. Yeah, just
fundamentals.
Well, we're doing a reverse to JJ, and then what? Like back to Kirk. Kirk's gonna. It was a forward pass back to Kirk.
Some sort of fleet. Oh yeah, it was a four. Yeah,
it was like a 2 yard forward pass. I don't know if it was supposed to be backwards, but Kirk just gets blown up. Like he's up there by himself, no blockers, and it's like, and the coach comes up. The coach, like at the post game, the coach says, like, "Yeah, that was me being a little bit too cute with it," type of thing. It's like, you think so? You think so?
I did. Just getting blown.
Just you can watch,
bro. They called a quarterback screen.
pretty much with no blockers.
They called a quarterback screen with no blockers,
and so that was early. So like that gets like, but there's just points in the game where you say to yourself, "Wow, the coaching gap." Like at one point, the Giants, before they kick it back to the Vikings at the end of the game, right, where it's like it's late in the fourth, it's second down. Giants still have the ball. They're trying to run it out, right? And basically Jones drops back the pass. He gets out of the pocket, and it looks like he can run sort of towards the line of scrimmage to get back some yards and kind of run towards out of bounds. But the clock is ticking right here. Like they've got 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. Vikings, they're trying to get the Vikings to use their timeouts. And he kind of just takes the sack, like a couple of yards behind the line of scrimmage. And it's those types of things where you say, like, this is a well-coached team. Jones is being told what he needs to be told to not screw this up, right? Like, hey, if you get out, you can go ahead and peel out, but stay in bounds. Don't give them an opportunity to have more time. They need a touchdown here. They're going to have to drive the whole field. Let's not, right? And so to me, it's just like he's been Dable has put him and the entire team defensively, offensively, to basically have success, to not make mistakes. And they've been doing that. When they don't make mistakes, they've won games this season. And once again, no turnovers. Offensively, defensively, they played pretty sound. Only gave up 24 points, a good offense. I don't know.
I think this will be interesting because, I like this game. I would not have thought the Giants would have scored 30 points in this game. And for me, yes, we know Minnesota's defense is not good, but they didn't even score this many points last time they played the Minnesota defense, which I just think that for me was one of the big things missing from the Giants as a team, that ability to score over 30 points. And this game, I know I think they did once or twice this season, but like, for me, the fact that they were able to do this in a playoff game against a bad defense, sure, but still against a real playoff team, the 3 seed, even though we all doubted the Vikings, they were still the 3 seed, good record. And they were able to put up over 30 points against them. I think bodes well, makes the matchup there more interesting.
100%,
potentially.
100%. And we're going to look back and say this season, the Rams didn't even make it to the playoffs. The Packers didn't even make it to the playoffs. They were supposed to be favorites, right? They were supposed to be really good, right? And
some people put Aaron Rodgers as their top quarterback in the league,
right? Teams that did make it to the playoffs, some of them will not even have won a game, like the Chargers, right? Everyone hyping the Chargers. At least they made it, but they will not win a game. The Giants will get to say, hey, we made it to the playoffs and we won a game, right? And that's good for their franchise for it's been 5-year drought or whatever. And hey, it's not over yet, right? So.
And stat, believe this is a true stat. The past 3 years, the past 3 years where the Giants have won a playoff game, they went on to win the Super Bowl that year.
Yes.
Right? Because the years they would win Super Bowls, it wasn't like they were some sort of favorite coming in. It's not like the Giants were favored against the Patriots in 2007. It's not. I don't know if they made the playoffs at all between then and 2012. I mean, maybe they did, but they didn't win a playoff game in that span. It's just definitely they're a dark horse sort of team.
Absolutely.
Eli too. We all said they picked Daniel Jones because he's kind of just like another Eli. Does he have the Eli's just clutchness? I
mean, we've seen this story before. We've seen a gritty New York Giants team who are dogs, who are, who have a marginal QB who, in the regular season hasn't played well, but went to the playoffs and was absolutely electric. Hey, guess what? This is the start of that story, baby. I mean, I hate to say it as a Cowboys fan, but we've seen this before. We've seen it before. I'm nervous.
Anyway. Speaking of throwback to the slog that was the Bills-Dolphins game, with the favorite barely squeaking out a win, we have the Bengals-Ravens. Bengals win 24-17. Technically, actually, no, never mind. Nope, it's still one score. I almost did the math wrong. But yeah, I mean, this game, I don't know. You know what? You take this one away. I don't know. I don't know what to say about this game.
Yeah, a couple of things. My takeaways.
So many of these games.
Yeah, my takeaway from this game was one. First of all, you've got a backup QB, right? Who, I guess can run a little bit. He did last night in Tyler Huntley. But you've got a backup QB, a running offense in the Ravens. With who do they have at wide receiver? I mean, you got Mark Andrews and company. I mean, it looks like
no one.
Yeah, it looks like the Giants wide receiver crew out there.
They got J.K. Dobbins, bro.
Right.
They're even missing. So who's there? It was their punt. I forget his name. Duvernay, something Duvernay, and I think he must be hurt. I think the one dude they had is hurt.
Right, and you've got that,
Sorry.
Which would mean that basically you'd anticipate that they're going to be running the ball a lot, right? And so you're going to have to win in the trenches, and the Bengals consistently lost, right? They got good yards on the ground, nothing crazy. It's not like they ran for 200, but they ran for over 100, between the two running backs and Huntley. And basically they kind of they were able to play their game the entire time. And I think, obviously Huntley made a couple of big passes. Eli Apple made some mistakes, looking like Trayvon Diggs out there. Nothing you can do. But that's just what you get. But to think that the Bengals, you've got everything is saying that they're going to be running the ball and they can't take that away, really. I mean, this game shouldn't have been close. It shouldn't have been close at all. And so that's slightly concerning to me. So that's kind of my big takeaway. I just think that the Ravens came out with more juice in general. They just came out. They seemed like they wanted it more. Bengals seemed a little bit more laid back and relaxed. Maybe they should have been because they won. But it took a ridiculous 98-yard fumble recovery to do so. So I would be a little nervous if I was Bengals fans.
Yeah, because that's a sort of 14-point swing sort of deal. Yes, it may not have been a touchdown or whatever. Maybe they would end up having to kick a field goal. They go for it fourth, don't get it, maybe. But the fact that the Bengals get a free touchdown out of that turnover too,
that's a good point.
They get a free touchdown as well, is just a massive point swing. And that for me is one of the bigger takeaways from this game as well, that I really would have thought that Joey Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, so on, all these players are on the team, I would have thought they come out with more points. I would have thought they'd get more than 24 points. What did I call this game at? I called this game, I only said they get 27. So maybe your point about the run defense is bigger, but when it became clear that the game was going to be gritty, when Baltimore was up at the half, they were up 10-9 at the half. That's the sort of time if you're the bet, you got to say, oh, wait a second, we gotta try, right? Because maybe before this, obviously they were trying. I know, but But I would have thought that's them. Okay, this is serious. Okay, we can't just play with our food. We can't just say, okay, great, we got to play the Ravens as opposed to, I don't know, the Bills in the first round. It's not like that. I would have hoped that after the half they turned it on a bit more, and they did. Right, they outscored them by 8 in the second half. Each team got a touchdown. Bengals got 2. But still, to win this game, just barely, just barely scrape by. Which, even though it's a 7-point game, it was still a barely scrape by sort of game. I would hope for more out of an offense that I think is as good as this team, out of a team I believe I said would go to the Super Bowl. Don't know who I have winning it. I don't think I picked a winner, but either way, I would have thought that I thought they were going to go to Super Bowl. I would have thought that they would, show a bit more, give a bit more convincing win in this game. That's all.
100%. I mean, and you think about it, after that 98-yard fumble recovery, no points were scored. There was 4 punts between both teams and a turnover on downs to end the game. That turnover on downs was inches away from being a game-tying Hail Mary. I mean, talk about, I've never seen a Hail Mary be that close and not get caught. I mean, it was all kind of like, but also like there's like, I don't understand what's going on with these coaches, like weird clock mismanagement things. I feel like they're losing the trees in the forest, or what is the saying? Like losing
losing
the forest and the trees or something.
You've just made me forget English, so I'm not sure.
No, but basically it's like John Harbaugh comes out and for his last drive, he lets minutes just flow off the play clock or the game clock while he has 2 timeouts that he ends up not even he didn't even use one.
Ends up game ends not with timeouts,
right.
Saving timeouts for the 5th quarter.
100%. Yeah. And his whole thing was, which is kind of fair, like, hey, if we're going to score, we don't want any time left because we don't want to give the Bengals a chance to get it. And I hear that because, okay, Kansas City can score in 13 seconds to get a field goal in 13 seconds. But you can't even get to the point of stopping them if you don't score, if you run out of time, right? So it's it's got to be there's a progression here. Don't get ahead of yourself. You're going to need to have enough time to score. And then they got backed up with a penalty, and it's 4th and 20. I mean, especially when the identity of this team, especially, with or without Lamar Jackson, but especially when it's not with Lamar Jackson, is you're going to have to rely on the running like this. You're going to have to rely on the run game. You got to put faith in your defense. Right.
The Ravens defense, especially after picking up Roquan Smith, has been great in the second half of the season. And Roquan Smith's been great. He's a first team All-Pro. I was just looking at it. I think you would hope, not that really helps in the 13-second drill, linebackers as much, but still, I think it's a sort of situation where you're a team. This team is not built for scoring quickly. This Ravens team with Lamar Jackson, if you want that Lamar Jackson crazy run, Lamar Jackson to Mark Andrews sort of connection, then sure. But you're not quite built for this. You're not quite built for this end of game drive. So you gotta you can't afford if you have to leave 30 seconds left on the clock, then leave 30 seconds left on the clock.
Yes.
Do not
right.
spend 35. Do not get the don't get the game clock down to 5 seconds before calling the play. You don't want to not care about time at all, but it's much better to leave 30 seconds on the clock for them and hope to rely on your good defense
100%
than this, right? Than just lose.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all the games, right? We went for almost an hour here. Basically, yeah. we will be back for another podcast this week to make predictions and talk about the divisional round. But this was sort of more of a recap podcast. Anything you want to say before we close down completely, Jack, about the games?
No, I mean, definitely wild. Hopefully the Cowboys-Bucks game that I'm sure will be drama rich because it's the Cowboys, right? They're always a drama rich team, and you got Tom Brady, potentially his last playoff game for all we know, that sort of thing. And at home, it's at home in Tampa. There's just this game is rich, is ripe for drama. So I think it'll be definitely watch that. I know this will probably be released after I say this. After the game, but still, that game will be amazing, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some high blood pressure meds
unless it's not
after this one. But I just saw something that said the Bucks defense, safeties, cornerbacks, and linebackers are the healthiest they've been this entire season, or something like that. And it's
hey.
It's Dak finna throw 3 picks in this game. Let's go. Oh boy! But hey, I'm gonna still be wearing his jersey. All right, We got to do it here. Playoff football, baby. All right. Well, this was episode 27 of 710 Sports with
Jack
and Jared. Thanks for joining us. Catch our predictions later this week. Thanks for watching.